This week on Living the Dream, Captain Jimmy Nelson travels to Grand Cayman in search of the elusive bonefish. After meeting up with Joel, their fishing guide, Captain Jimmy and the team begin sight fishing. Despite the barracuda in the water,
all right, now this is what's scaring the bonefish. We do not like these guys around here.
Captain Jimmy hooks some massive bonefish. This is Living the Dream with Captain Jimmy Nelson. Presented by Salt Life. Live salty.
Good fish. Man, what a fish. Wow. Doesn't get any better than Baja.
This is awesome.
What I'm talking about. On this trip to Grand Cayman, I was gonna do something that I've never done here before, and that's go bone fishing. So after waking up and having a great breakfast at Comfort Suites, which is located on the west side of the island on 7 Mile Beach, we headed all the way to the other side of the island, to the east side of the island, where it's much more secluded, and there's apparently a lot of bonefish. Arrived at the first spot on the east side of the island, and we walk out onto the beach, and it's just an absolutely gorgeous setting. We're walking up and down the beach looking for tails or for movement or for the bonefish in the water. Bonefish are probably the hardest fish to sight fish that I've ever fished for. A bonefish blends in with everything. And sometimes all you see when their tail pops out of the water is a little gray piece of the tail, if you even see that. So your #1 tool for catching bonefish is a good pair of optics like the Salt Life optics that I wear, because those Zeiss lenses just penetrate that water very well, because you're peering into the water all day and just staring and looking for the slightest movement, and anything can throw you off to make you think that it's a bonefish, and it's not. So we were just kind of walking up and down the beach looking for a sign of bonefish, and we thought that we saw something in the water, so I set the rod runner down and we waded out into the water to try to get a better look at what was out there. We got a closer look and we realized that there were some bonefish there, and we actually saw them for a minute and then they disappeared. And that's very typical when you're looking for bonefish, and that's why they call them the gray ghost of the flats, because they just disappear. But I made the cast anyways and let it sit there for, I don't know, 3 or 4 seconds, and then all of a sudden I felt like a little tap, tap, tap. Oh, there we go. I really felt that it was a bonefish, let it sit there, started taking it a little, set the hook, and sure enough, it was a bonefish. There he is. Oh yeah. Woo! There it is. Today we are out in Grand Cayman fishing for bonefish. And we've been fishing all of about 2 minutes this morning, and we have a bonefish hooked up right here already. We were only a couple minutes into fishing, and I'm hooked up on this fish already. Is it always this quick, or do we just get lucky this morning?
No, when you got bait, it's that quick.
All right, well, that's what I like to hear. You hear that? If you got bait, it's that quick. Well, Joel does a lot of bonefish charters, and he also mostly does them with fly rod. So doing with a spinning rod is a little different than normal. Like you said, the shrimp and the crabs are gonna be easy, and it was easy today. He brought us out here, first stop on a windy day, saw a couple bonefish, and made it happen. So I get that fish closer to me, and I go ahead and hand my rod off to Joel so that I can land the fish.
Yeah.
There he is. First fish of the day, bro. Look at him, he is ready to go too. He's got plenty of energy left in him. We got the hook out. What we had them on there is a little 3/0 J hook and a live shrimp. And that one's a couple pounds, huh?
Yeah, a couple pounds.
It was just kind of like a fun size fish. It wasn't small, but it wasn't real big either. I tell you what, when you guys come out here to catch these fish and stuff, are you doing this like morning time, afternoon, all throughout the day? Does it matter what time?
All throughout the day.
So if you're
All
on
throughout the day.
vacation
Yep.
and you want to come out and catch a bonefish, you want to sleep in, you had a long night the night before, come out here at noon, do the same thing.
Absolutely.
All right. If these guys wanted to find you to be able to do a trip with you, how would they do that? Do you have a website or an email address?
Yeah, they can find us online on fishbones.com.
Very good.
Look at the blue in that tail, huh? Man, iridescent.
2 minutes into fishing and a nice bonefish. And we're not going to keep him out of the water too long. We're going to go ahead and send him on his way. And there he goes. Look how he blends in with the bottom. And that's why they call him the gray ghost of the flat right there. That was awesome. Didn't take long at all. That's my kind of fishing. I don't like hard fishing. I don't like tough fishing. I don't like going out there and waiting 3 or 4 hours in the hot sun to catch a fish. When you come out right away and catch a fish, I mean, that excites me because that's what it's all about. Fishing shouldn't be, you know, very difficult, especially if you're coming out here, you're paying good money to be with a guide, you're having a good time. You don't want to go out and get skunked. And right now, I already know, haven't even gotten to the second spot, haven't even finished fishing this spot yet, and I know it's going to be a very good day. So stay tuned for some more bonefish action here in Grand Cayman.
Living the Dream with Captain Jimmy Nelson is made possible by Salt Life Optics, unparalleled clarity and contrast. Cayman Islands Angling Club, come experience sport fishing in paradise. Papa's Pilar, never a spectator. Plantation on Crystal River, the place to stay and play along Florida's nature coast. And by American Fishing Wire. Captain Jimmy Nelson is back in Grand Cayman, sight fishing for the gray ghost of the flats. After a day off at the beach, the team woke up to a hot breakfast at Comfort Suites before meeting up with their guide, Joel. And it wasn't long before they landed their first bonefish.
There he is. Oh yeah. Woo! There it is. 2 minutes into fishing and a nice bonefish. So after releasing that fish, we made our way down the beach a little more looking for some more fish.
Fishing from a dock, Captain Jimmy lands a common predator of the bonefish.
There he is. There he is. That's a cuda. Anytime you're bone fishing and you see barracudas, the bonefish are automatically going to be a lot more spooky. They're not going to be as apt to just come up and grab your line and eat. So I use a long shank hook. A barracuda is a bonefish's #1 predator here in the Caribbean and most areas where you would catch them. You know what, we get him out of here. It'd make it a lot easier to catch the bonefish. If that thing kicks out and gets you, you'll know it. All right, now this is what's scaring the bonefish. We do not like these guys around here. We were just spinning our wheels there, seeing fish, but they didn't want to play anymore. So Joel decided that we were going to pack things up and move to a different spot. And this next spot that we pulled up to was gorgeous. I just looked both directions and I didn't even know which way to start because everything looked perfect. We walked about, I don't know, 50 yards down the beach or so, ended up seeing some bonefish there. I could barely see him below the water. Joel actually had a really good eye on him. Once I kind of saw what he was seeing, the fish were just sitting there.
Clear water.
Oh, I see him moving right across.
See him?
So they're coming right across the white too.
Right, exactly, yes.
I made a cast. It was almost instantly, the fish picked up my shrimp and started running with it. Went right over that edge. The second fish was much larger than the first fish. I could tell right away it was a lot bigger fish just by the way that he was fighting and the way that the rod was bending. Well, that sure didn't take long. Spot number 2, fish on. Oh, this is too easy. This is too easy. I love it. My kind of fishing. Look at that. Huge. Look at that. That's bigger than the last one. You gotta be kidding me. Dude, he's pushing 10 pounds.
Big fish, man.
Look at that. Once I got a really good look at this second fish, I realized that it was a really nice fish. And same as before, I got it closer to me, got into a position where I thought that I could land the fish. I handed the rod off to Joel and got down there and grabbed that fish. Look at this here, man. Look at this fish. This is unreal.
Another stud.
This is unreal.
Another stud.
Cayman Bonefish right there. It's a 1/0 J hook right there in the corner of his mouth. And another absolute beast. Bonefish are such a neat fish because there's not really a lot of other fish out there that look a lot like them, that fight like them, and they're really completely a sport fish because nobody catches them to eat them. You just catch them for the fun of it. Look at the gut on that thing. I mean, this is, if you haven't been bone fishing before, this is a trophy bonefish. This is what you're after. So we got that fish released and we started moving down the beach and looking for some more fish. Take us that long at all, and we found more fish down the beach. We saw some more tails. There's some over here, right here too.
Yep, that's a secondary.
The rod and reel that I was using for these bonefish was the Tsunami 3000 Shield reel with a 12-pound Yozuri top knot fluorocarbon leader and a 1/0 J hook. And it was perfect for what I was doing. He is sitting with it. There he goes. Got him. Ooh, that's a big one. That's a big one. Holy smokes, that's a big bonefish right there. It started running, and it was another very large bonefish. It may have been the biggest fish of the day. Good job, brother.
Nice job, Jimmy.
Did you see that thing? He sat there with it in his mouth for about a minute. And it's just peeling out drag, and I'm excited, and I'm holding the rod high to make sure I don't get cut off by any of the mangrove shoots and the rocks or the different things that's in the water. He picked it up and ate it and didn't move an inch. I only have a 12-pound Yozuri top knot leader on there, and there's plenty of stuff out here we can get cut off on. This is real light tackle that I'm using here, guys. What I have is a Tsunami Shield 3000. This is a 3-piece travel rod. Makes it easy for going through plains and stuff. Oh my goodness, that's what I came for right there. I wanted a big one. That's a big one. All right, so what I'm doing right now is I'm just leading him up to shore so that I can get the hook out of this fish here. Look at that fish. So I kind of made a couple attempts at him, got the rod in Joel's hands, and then I did actually get my hands on that fish. Holy smokes, that is a big bonefish, guys. That's a big bonefish. Wow. And you see why we saw his tail sticking out is because these fish, what they're doing is they're getting out in those grass flats and just digging down into that grass. They're just shooting this mud, just shooting it through their gills and over their mouth and pushing it out. They're trying to spook up crabs and shrimp and any other crustaceans. And like Joel said, the worms and the different things that they're eating here. And this is a well-fed bonefish. Wow, what a big fish. Cayman Islands inshore fishing at its best. Grand Cayman, baby. Woo!